I want to give an overview what we might want to discuss, and then we may perhaps discuss these things in a different order, because my order is basically depending on how things happen throughout the year. And that may not be the most important one. So this is a quick overview, introductory slide. So we have started participating in the Google Summer of Code in its second year in 2006, and except for 2017, where I believe there was no org admin or we just somehow missed the deadline, we were accepted every single year. I did count the projects that we accepted on our wiki page. I counted them twice just by hand. I didn't want to spend time writing a script or anything. Once I counted 101, and the second time I counted 100. So let's assume that we did accept our 100th project this year. And in the recent years, which means something like 4, we have 6 to 7 projects. But then there are different sizes of projects in Google Summer of Code, and the large ones are basically supposed to be, in terms of hours, twice as big as the medium-sized ones. So you know, it also depends on how many large ones we have. Usually 1 or 2, which is frankly surprising. When they first sort of introduced the medium-length project last year, they also have short. I thought that even the medium length just would be not enough for a GCC project, and I definitely think that the short one is not long enough. But to my surprise, most of the projects proposed are medium length, and people actually manage to do them in that time frame, supposedly. And right, the last 2 bullet points is about my goals for this talk. So I want to get feedback mostly from mentors, but also like anybody following, or basically from anybody, and perhaps share best practices and ideas for improvements. And since I'm one of the org admins, one doing most of the emailing, my sort of goal is what I can possibly do better. It's not that like I'm able to volunteer much more time, but we can certainly improve on quite a few things. So these are the possible areas of discussion. As I said, mostly as things happen throughout the year. So except the first one is the last one. So I wanted to talk about how we select the candidates that apply, how we want to make sure that they actually are engaged, not just with their mentors, but with everyone, or with the community at large. I wanted to discuss how we evaluate both the midterm and the final evaluations. I wanted to ask mentors what to do better in general on a separate slide, so that's right there in the middle. And then we always talk about how we retain people. It's a very hard discussion, but I think it's one that we continuously need to have, because once we'll figure something that will help. And then, of course, we can discuss miscellaneous stuff. And last thing, because that's basically the next big thing, apart from the application to the project in 2026, is that we'll need projects. So I will do a little bit of a call for projects. So let me go quickly over the topics, and then we can either go over them in this order or in some other order, or ignore some of them or introduce new ones. So in the past, we did accept people we shouldn't have. And it didn't happen this year, I think, and it also didn't happen last year, I checked. But the years before that, 1 or 2, if not 3, there were 1 or 2 cases, definitely. And this meant that the mentors then really needed to spend a lot of time to teach them basic stuff, teach them how to even set GDB pointers, things like that. And one of my biggest concerns as the org admin is mentor burnout. Basically, mentor telling me, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't have the energy to this. This is just non-rewarding job. I have this person who just doesn't do, hasn't achieved much in a week until the next meeting, and then asks basic question, and the project leads nowhere. And I would like to avoid that. So first thing is that if that happens, we need to fail that person quickly. Once I was at a Mentors Summit organized by Google, and actually one of the asks to all the organization was, don't be afraid to fail students. But we probably want to not accept them in the first place. So some organizations require a pull request, or in our case that would be a patch submission. If we do have an applicant who did it that far, who was able to propose a non-trivial patch, we would, I think, accept that person immediately without hesitation. But it doesn't happen, and I think I'm not sure if it makes sense, because if someone selects GCC as the project where they would like to contribute in late January, by late February they're unlikely to come up with a meaningful patch. That doesn't mean that they that we can accept people who have no idea what they would be doing, but it just might not be realistic for a number of reasons. We do require some interaction on the mailing list. It is on the wiki page. Like if you have a proposal, share it with us before on the mailing list. That request is getting ignored. I have some understanding for that, as students tend to apply at the very last moment, and of course this this doesn't really fit into that approach. And there are good students or good would-be contributors who apply at the very last moment. Nevertheless, it does increase the risk. I think I'll leave this as a requirement though, and when I'm hesitant, I would like to sort of reject applicants based on not fulfilling it, but nevertheless.
Is there like, I haven't looked into this for a long time, but is there like a way to like have not an interview, but just like a talk before to decide if you're on the fence of one person?
I don't think this has happened. There may be. It's certainly if someone appears on IRC, then it can just take place straight away.
Well, if he appears on IRC, then I would consider that as an interaction.
Yeah. And we actually do want interaction on the mailing list. It is something that is encouraged by the Google Summer of Code. We don't sort of do in interviews. Right. So the question is, what do we want to do? I usually now leave it to mentors. So I wanted to ask what they actually use. I'm slightly afraid that, well, apparently, for other organizations, well, it's not very surprising that many applicants use AI tools to generate proposals. Usually, those are fairly simple to, I assume, figure out, that they are sort of not really that they do not reflect what the actual person is capable of doing. But the tools can get better. People can get better at using the AI tools rather than better at coding the compiler. So the problem can get worse. Sometimes it is easy to figure out whether the proposal is written by someone who has a chance of finishing it or not. What I usually sort of started to focus was the proposed timeline, because if it was first 2 weeks, I'll figure out how all this is being done, and then the second 3 weeks I'll write it, and the last 4 weeks I'll test it. Then I assume that person really doesn't have a knowledge beyond just a brief description that they just read on the wiki about the project. So it's really, I look at what the person wants to do first, second week. If they have an idea into what source file they want to look, where they want to study things. So that was my sort of thing. That's what I look into. But it may not be the best indicator. And one idea is whether we want to do any kind of, based on David's tutorial, sort of have some kind of test to prove that they went through it.
And that was kind of my suggestion a little bit.
So yeah, this is something that I'll probably want to look into. I don't know, and really sort of just to make sure that they did bootstrap the compiler, that they did.
It shows they at least built GCC from source themselves. I was just kind of brainstorming, like I was thinking, do we have like here's a plugin with a very trivial bug in it. Can you change the plugin to do this, show that you did it, or patch something to?
It's sort of, I was sort of rather thinking like of people proposing a project, like, look, find me a relevant function and relevant test case in the sort of to the project, and we'll ask the person just go and use GDB to let us know what the variables in the invocation sort of have, what values they have, or something, just to make sure that they actually like were able to build it from the source and use GDB to inspect it.
I have one student who wants to work on the BoF offloading stuff. I asked him to actually run the test suite and send me the log file so I could check the date stamps that he actually did it himself. I could fake that, of course.
But yeah, that would be like that would already show a fairly good understanding of what he needs to fake. Yes. It would be easier to just generate them.
No, but that way I could be sure that he's.
Yeah. But one thing is that I actually think that these kind of tests would need to be, or a lot of them would need to be project specific.
Yeah.
One thing is that they cannot be copied from one another, but then someone like just the ability to figure out that the comp exists and has a test suite and that it runs is different from, I don't know, lib std C++ kind of knowledge that's required. But I think that so if you're for project proposals, probably thinking about this.
Yeah, and it could potentially be tuned to the area, the aspect of what their proposal is for. So if you've got to analyze a project, well, okay, can you send me the log file from the analyzer by EXP and or whatnot, sort of something like that. Because then at least it's also directly relevant to the candidate and tuned to them. You're less likely, so it's more obviously useful to the candidate, and it's also less likely that say, here's the answer for the test. Gets shipped.
Yeah. But it should also like lead them probably in the area where they can actually look for a plan how to achieve the project, because in the proposal, again, I'm looking at the timeline, and if I know that the person has a good idea where they want to start, that's already a good indication. So the kind of a test or the kind of a query that they might want to that might help them. So it looks like when people proposing projects, it might help to sort of think of a way to. Think of a question to ask to the applicant. Okay, let me. Yeah.
Maybe one other thing is, are the projects that are being proposed by us too long and too big and too complex for these people? I don't know. I haven't looked at.
I think that but. I think that usually the work in compilers is of that kind of it is on the more difficult, more.
No, I don't disagree.
One of the things that I'm also like thinking of is taking the page out of wiki, or at least the one that we would sort of direct, because just the formatting makes some of the projects that it's really like 7 lines of text that's this wide on a notebook screen. So sometimes it's kind of a difficult. I can understand that it can be a little bit off-putting and just daunting, just figuring out what the project is about. Just a little bit of formatting and editing might help there. I'll see whether I'll be able to follow up on that, but it is actually something that I'm considering.
How live are the suggestions? My recollection is we have a long list of project ideas, and some of them are just something someone added 10 years ago and they might.
Right,
We
that's
do.
what I was-
We have
that's
two
really-
lists. We have. I sort of make sure that I maintain the short list.
Oh,
Let's
so
see
you
if
think
I
you
can.
move some of these lists to
So
separate
I have.
pages?
This is basically what we did have when we started in this year, and we have this selected project ideas, and that is something where I know I would have a mentor
Yeah.
for in that particular year. I mean, of course, or for there are between 1 and 2 people who can mentor Fortran stuff. So we cannot select all of these, but I do have a Tobias would be willing to mentor that.
Is it worth, yeah, so it's
And
worth-
these, as you can see, these things are really they may be difficult to parse. I mean, but we did have a probably successful project that's still about to finish, I believe. But it's, as far as I understand, it's going well. Even for this, so people can parse it, but it may be a little bit. And then just to finish my first. Then we have this before you apply, which means like read David's tutorial and build GCC, and then how to apply, and then we have this other project ideas with a big warning. I hope it's big enough that it already is probably full of garbage, and we have their stuff. But I think we have pruned it as well because it doesn't contain nearly as much garbage as it's not nearly as long as it used to be. So that's how if these things can be if there is an idea that can be revived, we can revive it. But what I try to focus and what I really try to get people to work on is this. Is the selected project. But of course, if someone's like good enough to select a different project, then
Are you thinking then each of those selected projects, each of those highlighted projects should be on a page of themselves, by itself, and then have a look, just to make the page
it should be a little bit more
less,
structured. It should be slightly easier to read, slightly easier to find out how big it is, slightly even when it comes to formatting.
Yeah, I just noticed, for example, you still had my static analysis ideas there, and I think I said I didn't want to mention this yet, so.
And we agreed that we would give them we would put them towards the end, and and only select if I recollect the agreement, and only select a student if it was really promising, and then it didn't happen. Right, so that was selection, and then when we accept a candidate, what I feel often happens, and that was my experience, both as a mentor and as an org-admin who just tries to have an idea how projects are going, is that the accepted contributors, like they do their research and work, and they do it quietly in their corner with their mentor. When they have a problem, they wait for the scheduled one-on-one with their mentor next week and don't do anything. Instead, what they should be doing is ask the wider community, and hopefully even some intermediate progress would appear as a form as an RFC patch or just something. This puts more strain on the mentors because they are responsible for everything, whereas it slows the projects down because, as I said, the contributor often is waiting a week for the next one-on-one with the mentor, even though someone else from the community would have answered earlier, especially if the mentor is away for a week or so. We want to teach people to engage. We are friendly and nice, and we only really work together well. And org-admins have really limited visibility into how things are going, and I would like to have better, just so that in the unlikely case that I need to fill in some evaluation.
The organ, it's the community doesn't have
True.
visibility either.
True. And so one idea is to require at least some kind of regular public status reports. I always, when I think about this, I always think about David's student, or country was Ankur, if I remember. It's I think so. And he was writing just, I don't know whether you made him do it or whether he did it on his own or her own.
It's just file the script support in the
And yeah, the contributor wrote just wonderful status reports, like 50 of them every week. And they were like, this today or this week, I was looking into this, I achieved this, this is still not achieved. And it was clear that he was doing tremendous progress. I was just saying, wow, this is incredible. And maybe if we tell people, look, first you agree when they are not available. Google Summer of Code now has a lot of flexibility in terms of taking some time off. So that would be the time off. But every 2 weeks, roughly, please send a status report, just how things are going to the public mailing list. Would that be a good idea? Then people can respond and tell them, look, if they're stuck on something, write it there. That means that our code is difficult to figure out, or someone will help you.
I would love it if that happened. I guess I want, as a mentor, but I guess I'm interested in the contributor viewpoint on this. So I was a bit nervous when I've been trying to encourage people to please go on the mailing list, be public about that. Am I encouraging people who might be a bit shy and they don't want to be wrong in public or be ignorant in public kind of thing. It's
I have a big understanding for that, but as you know, and it's something I don't like either. Very few people are willing to like that, but in an open source project where patches undergo public review, that's what happens, especially if you are a beginner. It's a very and.
Do you have? So I mean, you're as a former student, as it were, or a contributor, or maybe you're going.
Yeah. Also, I struggle with this. Like I don't think I've ever asked a question on the mailing list because, I don't know how you view it. For me, email is very official. Yes. I don't know.
Whereas is IRC more.
Yeah, I do use IRC, but you don't always get an answer on the IRC. But if you do, it's really helpful.
Yeah, and I guess if it's IRC, then does it then become a time zone issue? Because, for example, I hesitated in the past to do I want to accept the student because they're in a very different time zone to me?
Yes.
And is that fair to reject someone because they're, it's going to be silly o'clock if I ever want to do synchronous communication? But maybe it's so okay, that's interesting. So IRC better than email.
I think so. Yeah.
IRC works for me. I use my real name on the IRC, but just it being an instant chat, even though I don't get an instant response, it feels like.
It feels more informal.
It is definitely much more informal on IRC than email.
Yeah, it's not going to be archived forever as a.
Though I've heard people starting to suggest Discord because that's where people are, younger folks use, and that is archived. But that's not necessarily to say that's a problem. It's more, it's still a more informal, because there is this view these days that email has become too formal for a lot of discussions. And, if you look at how LLVM uses their, not email system, it's the discourse. It's a much formal, cut. Yeah, they're much more formal than GCC's discussions, because it's our RFCs are there. Yes, there are some informal stuff, but it's mostly total,
Okay, yeah, interesting.
And then they use Discord for their informal stuff.
Yeah, something
I think that we need to, however, also meet the knowledgeable people where they are. So I mean, they will get answers from experts in the area, and
Right.
they are on the mailing list and on IRC, and we may struggle to bring them to a third platform.
Yeah. I think any student who's on IRC, that's quite a good sign that they're probably pretty technically astute,
Yes.
kind of thing. I remember I had a conversation with a couple of interns at Red Hat,
Mm-hmm.
and it was absolutely fascinating, and it made me feel very, very old about because
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the idea, basically the comment was email. Oh yeah, that's that thing you do in order to get a sign-in code for whatever service you're using.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, email is very much a legacy, at least to them.
Yeah.
This sort of legacy thing that is just to get your username and password.
And that's partially because of spam and other stuff that's kind of caused that.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess maybe that speaks to the ForgeJo project of having more of a GitHub style of interaction.
Yes, but that's
Not for
this
questions.
That's not for this. Okay.
That's
That's
not-
not for questions that are, that, for example, I've done, like, not necessarily the deprecation of, targets, but more like I needed help, I still do, with the cost model stuff with the AR64 backend, for the vectorizing, and it's like, okay, how do I get, I'm trying to understand this, the code should do the right thing, but it's not, I need help, type of.
And so I'd like to go back to the original. So it's not like not sort of even attracting people or sort of, but can we tell them, sorry, you will be expected to write roughly at least twice a weekly, once a weekly is better, a report on how things are progressing, basically publicly. It's also and if that means that people will write, I'm looking into these things, then just and write some kind of what they found out during their research so that they can be corrected.
I guess so it is because
Honestly, like obviously I can't speak like for all the students, but I personally wouldn't mind that. Like I myself would really hesitate to I don't know, ask or just be like vulnerable on the mailing list, like saying I'm really struggling, can somebody help me? But if I'm just required to
If you're required to do it, then and this is what I'm having problems with, and people can then actually reach out to you.
it feels it feels better, even though it is pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you had like almost a template.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what since the last status report, here's what I've been working on, here's what I achieved, here's stuff I could use help with, and so on, and that kind of is not subtle prompts, but yes, please ask for help.
That's probably a good. I'll try to look at the Anchor's status reports and actually try to. Yeah, that's a good idea. And also, like, eventually, most of the goal of most of our projects is to propose a patch and have it reviewed. So you cannot escape that kind of that potentially of posting a buggy code on the mailing list.
And it is wonderful when you're someone close to you who suddenly is interacting with other people.
Yeah.
Let them get on with.
So it seems like the status reports is probably a good idea, and I'll actually probably work with this idea because I really don't want the projects to suddenly have a patch 1 week before the final submission, and it's kind of it feels like it's not going the way that it should. And of course, as mentors, please suggest that people post RFC patches or that they divide the work into smaller chunks and that the smaller chunks appear early as at least before the first evaluation.
Even if it's an unrelated patch,
Yeah, well, definitely.
Or it's related, it's just that this is needed because I ran into this first?
Evaluations. Should we have some kind of set of common criteria, and perhaps should we be slightly stricter? I think that quite a few projects succeeded, but the patches, they were not ready for upstreaming. Actually, sort of did in most cases what they were supposed to, but still needed a lot of work. And yeah, we should probably.
How is that a success?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's not really that succeeded in terms of that the mentor decided that the students like should pass the project,
Oh, yeah.
and they did passed the program and received the stipend, and the mentor had the patches which needed just 2 weeks of work, but his work, not the students' work, and they would be ready in 2037.
Okay.
So, we should probably, be a little bit stricter in this kind of. I think it also ties up a little bit to the previous bullet point, because it can happen that the mentor has feeling, oh, but I didn't respond to his issue for a week when I was really busy 3 weeks ago. That means that is the why he's probably now late. But that student should have asked like more generally, and hopefully it would have been resolved, or should have asked the community, that hopefully would be resolved earlier. So yeah, I also agree that there's no third. We should probably sort of, even at the beginning, like some projects, like for example, there was I think interesting and good, and in terms of and actually like a successful project to attempt to parallelize different parts of GCC, but it was from the beginning a very big research project. It was like it was exploration of Giuliano together with Richie, how this can be done, and it was like exploratory work. And if there were no patches out of that, it was still a lot of useful work done. I mean, not except there were a lot of patches, but not like something that we would want to merge. They were showing, if we solve this issue, other issues that would appear, for example. So there are projects like this which can end very well without actually merging anything.
But presumably they're a deliverable in terms of a report.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that one has a wiki page on it. Very good wiki page of everything. I was just looking at that the other day for pointing to somebody else about it recently.
So, but generally, most of the projects, like we should tell the students, well, again, ideally, even for the midterm evaluation, there should be already something out, at least as an RFC. And if that hasn't happened, we should be a little bit nervous about the project already. And yeah, I mean, if the patches are not ready to be posted by the end, then either the project needs extension, which can be done nowadays usually, unless it had already been extended, so yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if we can sort of really define a set of like evaluating sort of criteria, how to sort of a process that would apply in all situations, but we probably should be a little bit stricter, and I will try to direct people to be a little bit stricter.
But we also have to consider what do we gain from failing students. So if you want to be stricter in the evaluations, what exactly is the goal?
Well, first, we shouldn't be misusing the Google Summer of Code project for or what it is not its purpose, right? It shouldn't be someone getting money because they had a chat with someone over something that they didn't accomplish.
Yeah.
Secondly, I do believe that a lot of the people, and that we'll get to that in a moment, is about retaining people after the program's over. Most of them say, "Oh yeah, I'll stay around," and they don't. It's a little bit worse if they still sort of have a deliverable to finish and they don't. And that kind of, I find that as a, basically an unfinished project and unfulfilled promise. I don't think they need to, again, I don't think the project needs to accomplish 100% of its stated goals in terms of implementation. That's, no, but we do want, that they should have, if it turns out not to be really an entirely research thing, which can happen, and if Mentor agrees that, okay, it is now, or from the beginning it was a research thing, or now it is a basically research thing because the whole thing is much harder than anticipated, sure, that's not a problem. But if it's, it's just, oh, it didn't get finished, but new semester starts, so let's get this over done. We should probably extend the project or fail it.
One of the things I've done, I think a couple of times, is basically said, what you proposed, I don't think you're going to get done in time. Can you please focus on this particular subset of the problem so we can at least have a patch that gets in that covers part of it? And, that's at least an achievement kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have a question. Since we accepted over about 100, how many have been successful? And how many people have stayed along? Let's ask that question.
Right.
So,
So that's, again, when you say successful, how many have you passed versus failed?
I don't know.
Versus how many
I sort of have an idea
Yes.
of since I became the org, which was less than half of the time, and I think our success rate is about 80% in terms of past projects. I think that the names that I do. But when I looked at the past projects, the names that still ring a bell are Philip Heron, who started the Rust project. He was there compiling Python with Ion many years ago. But then I didn't know about. But then I think he disappeared for a while and reappeared. I believe Alex Monakov was there, Martin Liška, of course, but he was Honza's student as well. Not directly with the community, but Giuliano Bellinassi is also still involved. So there are names that are sort of, we do have people, but yeah, fairly few.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think I've mentored 6 projects, and one of them, 2 of them, I think one of them has managed to get a job working on GCC, so that's great. And I don't know, I haven't seen the others basically since. And of those projects, do I really want to say this out in a recorded environment? 2 or 3 were great, and the rest less so.
Yeah.
I think, in terms of, and it was kind of like, in terms of what we got out of it versus if I just written the code myself, kind of thing.
That's, yeah, but a lot of the easy hacks sort of look like, oh, I might just write it myself, except for filing an easy hack bug. But we cannot do everything ourselves. We need to grow the community. It's there's a trade-off, and yeah, I agree. But sort of, that's more to the idea of selecting good applicants so that it is fun, and that's actually, I believe, the next topic, which is,
What are we doing time-wise, by the way?
we still have 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a secret. The 11th slide is a big thank you. So we have only 3 slides to cover. And this is, I believe, all that is it all? Yeah, no. It has 2 lines. So from people who used to, who were or are mentors, if there's anything that could make it more fun, other than having great contributors to work with, is there anything that org-admins can do? And I don't sort of require an answer now, but if you can think of anything, please let me know, because I'm interested for the next year.
I think a lot of things tie into this anyways.
Yeah, but please, but I hope that you've noticed that for me, mentor burnout is a huge concern. It's probably the biggest concern. I mean, if you didn't have any student at all 1 year, that would be bad, but a mentor burnout is worse. So please,
Sorry,
if
out, but
I still hope to get you in at some point.
But something happened in my personal life that made it
Absolutely.
much more complicated about a year and a half ago.
So I wasn't. So, you know, for me, if something happened in the personal life, and it was a good thing, but it meant that I couldn't mentor anything this year, and I didn't myself personally. Still, you know, so even though I tried to. And yeah, retaining contributors. It's something that we've just that, but most of the people. Some of the very good names are there in the list. Some people stick around for a few months. I believe that actually Ankur was one who's occasionally replied to an email for over a year, but then I don't know what happened. I understand that one of the reasons is that there are only so many GCC jobs, and especially in the junior level, it's maybe difficult, but it's something that needs to be. It's a question that still needs to be raised. I also think that perhaps if the people like really get a substantial patch in, they might be more motivated. Like than if their project ends in okay, it was formally successful, but I basically didn't get over that actual finish line by merging the patch. So I don't know, but it is again something that I don't expect people have a silver bullet, but anything that help would be great. Right. Anything else that we should discuss? Any other feedback? Any?
Do we have some concrete, like, actions, but do we actually decide some things? It sounded like we came up with the idea of formalizing, say, weekly reports or some sort of sounded popular. I think at least there seemed to be consensus for that. I'm trying to think what else we covered in the discussion. Or were you about to do the summary?
I think the other important topic is to during the application to sort of think already by a kind of a set of questions to ask to the specific applicant applying for the given project, to like log file from a test suite, figure out inspecting a relevant function in GDB in a relevant test case, things like that. We can sort of when specifying a project, it also might be a good idea to already in the description, which is we need to make sure that it's sort of structured into smaller chunks then, because it might become too long. To guide them to the specific place which they should study and then answer a few questions about. That's another thing that I remember, and I hope I'll remember more as I go over the slides privately.
There was also the question of publishing RFC patches by the first evaluation day.
Yeah.
And there was another thing that I'm still trying to remember.
Yeah, I should have.
And reducing the scope of the project if necessary before we get to something complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, and incentivizing participants to post in the mailing list questions.
And the mailing list question, or IRC even, but getting to IRC.
Anywhere. Anywhere that the people are.
The forum might actually be a factor, because I think that Rust people they have their chat Zulip, and it seems it works reasonably well for them. It's kind of a modern chat thing. But again, the questions there, it feels like an environment where you can just ask a question, even though it might be potentially stupid. But it is there forever. I mean, if you fear of finding your stupid question there 20 years later, stay.
I wonder if just one further data points. So the student that Tobias and I had this year, we invited him to the Slack instance that Beluga has, which is kind of in a way similar to Zulip or Metrohost, if it's almost that. It's also kind of an informal setting like IRC, but it's a web-based thing. And what I personally like very much about these systems is that you have persistent history, and not like IRC, which just disappears and you can search in there and have some limited support for threading. this is again more what people are used to, the younger people. But if we had such a thing to GCC generally, then it's another communication platform.
Yeah, it's
It depends really how many people are kind of in this topic area. If it's a wide area where a lot of people can contribute, then it's a bit more a private kind of channel. If it's a bit more like there would be only a handful anyway to answer such questions, then it makes sense. So.
Well, I was gonna say is, if you look at the GCC list, not the patches list, the GCC list, there's no traffic. You know, you get maybe 1 or 2 things a week, and that's it.
Hmm.
And it's
It's a bit more, but not much more.
not much more. It's maybe you get.
Do we
Some
want
weeks
to
you get one.
require our students to subscribe to that mailing list? I think it would make sense. You're a
Well,
GCC,
it makes sense because now I'm
you're a
sending
GCC hacker for a couple of months. You need to be subscribed to GCC. Yeah,
No,
not
well,
necessarily the patches,
Yeah.
but the GCC mailing list. I mean
And
that
now that I send out a weekly newsletter, I think that might get them more involved anyways.
Yeah.
Understanding, they're understanding what's also going on
we
in a more summarized form, you know.
I wanted to talk to you about that, but that's off topic for
Yeah,
for this. I guess, is there a generational thing here where I think of mailing lists as, oh, that's how we interact on a free software project, versus mailing
There
lists is this like a weird artifact of a
There is a
bygone
generation, there
It
is.
definitely
generational,
is.
but
I mean,
yes,
and I think it's actually like a generational in terms of there is this. It's not like the mailing list is how we interact, but it's I have it all set up my way that I've been configuring for the past 25 years, which is true, and so I love it. I have it. I can do really like reviews fairly efficiently. Just type enter into an email, and it opens the relevant source, and I can just see it. And just trying to do that in some web tool that would work for everyone is something that I abhor. But I assume that people who are newer just think that you don't have to configure these things to have them.
So,
So-
just to stay on this topic a little bit, there's a couple of talks, on Saturday and Sundays specifically.
Yeah.
about this. So please go to them
Go. Yeah. So let's
to hear more.
let's do the
But yes,
final
there is
slide.
a generational issue with mailing, with email.
And my biggest concern, as I said, is mentor burnout. But of course, every January, I'm sort of reaching out to people. Please propose some projects. And I'm always like a little bit afraid. I know that we wouldn't have enough. Huge thanks to Tobias, of course, for his Fortran projects. Huge thanks to Rust people for their projects.
I could
Thanks to.
propose a loop Objective-C
Oh,
project.
okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, but we need a mentor for that. If you're willing to
I'm
mentor.
willing to mentor. That's one. I have a project on my mind. I have, there's a patch that starts it,
Okay.
and to finish it up. So for me, it'll probably take 3-4 weeks. For a student, it'll probably take a little bit longer.
Summer,
but,
that's okay. Yeah.
So maybe I'll propose that for next year.
So please, yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. And if there's something that prevents you from considering being a mentor, please, and it's something that we can do. Apart from the day only having 24 hours and a month only, and a year only 12 months and things like that, which is, I cannot do anything about that, but please let me know. Please, thanks to everyone proposing projects who proposed projects in the past, and huge thanks to everyone who's willing to mentor and who did mentor. So this is the thank you slide. I mean, really, without mentors, I mean, the mentors are the cornerstone of the project. It wouldn't work without them. So really, thank you. Thank to Thomas and David who work with me and who help me decide stuff so very often, and who can step in whenever I'm not able to do whatever is necessary. And as I want people to reach out to the community, thanks to everyone who actually responds. And thanks for listening to this talk.
Right on time.
We're out of time, but there's still I know we're out of time. There's coffee break right now. So yeah.
No, I
if
said
there's
right on time.
right on time.
Yeah, and it's just coffee.
Yeah. So I don't want to stand in between you and coffee. That's dangerous. So thanks a lot. It was a good session after all, and it does have a good actionable outcome, which does not mean hours and hours of work, which is great. And I'll probably try to go over the slides, remember what we decided, and start an email thread on the GCC mailing list so that there's some traffic. Thanks a lot.